I'd like to say hello to our audience. I'm Don Phipps, Superintendent of the Caldwell County Schools, and with me, Nathan Pope, our Chief Information Officer. And we're here for another episode of Learning Together Conversations with the Caldwell County Schools. And our guest today is Dr. Katrina McEllen, the Assistant Superintendent for EPS. Dr. McEllen, would you let our audience know what the acronym EPS stands for?
EPS stands for Educational Program Services. And Educational Program Services covers a lot of things that we do in the classroom and in support of what is going on in the classroom. So when you think about the curriculum, so what our students are learning, ensuring that we are following the standards from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. We have testing and accountability, we have exceptional children's, we have career and technical education, we have curriculum coordinators within my department who go out and assist teachers in ensuring that they have what they need to be able to teach in the classroom. Student support services as well, it ranges. We also have some digital teaching and learning, ensuring that we are using educational and instructional technology to the best of our ability in the classroom. So just a lot of things within that realm of educational program services, but we're just there to make sure that we as staff, we're doing what we need to do to help our students learn, and that we are there to support our teachers and what they do in the classroom every day.
And just for our audience to have a chance to know you a little bit, career path-wise, explain what you did and what led up to the role that you're currently in.
Okay. So prior to becoming an administrator, I was a teacher, obviously, in the classroom with high school experience. And then I was a curriculum coordinator, then an administrator at the high school level, and then spent several years as high school director here in Caldwell County, and then moved into the assistant superintendent position 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe 4 or 5 years ago, really. Time flies.
So your role as the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Program Services, tell the audience more about what you do and how you fit into that department.
Okay. So I am the leader of the department. So I have, I feel like I go to a lot of meetings, but one thing I think that I have learned over the years is you can't be everywhere that you want to be at the same time. And so within my department, there's a lot of things that happen. And so I have directors of each of the areas. And so I depend on them to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing at the classroom level, the school level. But a lot of what we do is going out into schools. So this year we've changed some of the way that we've done some things, and so we're able to, or at least I've been able to go out into schools and do some walkthroughs this year that I haven't really been able to do in the years past. But really be in the classroom, see what's going on in the classroom, making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And then I depend on directors within my department and our curriculum coordinators to make sure that they're doing the day-to-day things, that our teachers are trained in what they need to be trained in, that our principals have the support that they need to lead within their buildings. It varies from department to department, but just making sure and checking in with those that are in my department to make sure that they are that they have what they need to do to be able to do their job successfully, and just leading them and making sure that we see the long-term path. You know, the day-to-day is important, and the teachers in charge of the day-to-day, and the administrators are in charge of the day-to-day. But I think a lot of what we do is more of that long range of are we getting where we need to go, and how are we going to get there, and to provide that direction in a long-term format.
So how do you manage compliance versus support when that's a delicate scale that you have to balance? And I know it changes from time to time, but when you think about the overall work that you all do in the department that you represent, how would you speak to compliance and the other areas of the role, including support, that you're involved in?
So I think when you think about compliance, it's doing what has to be done. But we also want to make sure that we're doing what's right for children, what's right for our students, what's right for our staff. So there are certain things that we have to do. Excuse me. There are certain things that are mandated either by the federal government or at the state level. And then there are some things that we decide it's important to us as a district. And here are some things that we are going to kind of lay that foundation for locally and say, this is what's important to us. When we're talking about teaching in the classroom, there are certain things that we expect our teachers to do to ensure that every child has the opportunity to learn within our school system. And there are certain things that we have no control over that are handed to us either at the state level or the federal level. And our job is to make sure that we're doing it. But I think a lot of that comes down to understanding why some of it's important. Like, why do we do what we do, and why are we doing what we're doing? And then from our end is making sure that people understand what it is that they're being asked to do. And then we look at it from how can we support you in doing what it is that you've been asked to do. And try to help them do what they need to do to meet whatever those rules or regulations are, or the laws or the guidelines that have been given.
And I think the way you all go about it, you and your team, you do the supportive work and the compliance work together, and that support has to come first. So hats off to you all for a great job with that.
So I'd like to ask you about, you mentioned making the best decision and offering the opportunities, offering opportunities for all students, regardless of what their interests or their career path may be. So I think a lot of the parents and families that are going to hear this in the district would be interested to know that you and Jill Pippin, the Director of High School Education, you put a lot of energy into not only the classroom and learning opportunities experiences for students who seek to pursue a college education, but also students that seek to pursue vocational opportunities or trades. So tell us why that's so important and why you have been such an integral part of making sure those opportunities are available to both middle school and high school students.
So I think when you think about what it is that everybody's going to do, and students have all sorts of paths in front of them. Some are going to go the college route, some are going to go straight into a job, and some are going to do somewhere in between. But eventually, we want everybody to have a career, something that they love to do. And I think our purpose here in education is to help students see what all the options are. I think sometimes students get labeled or tracked a certain way, but there are so many opportunities in today's world for students to do whatever it is that they want to do, and so many careers that we can't even imagine exist today, but will exist in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. Our world is constantly changing, and I think what our role is to make sure that students know what all those possibilities are. I could leave high school, I can go to this job, and they're going to teach me what I need to know, but I could also go down this road to the community college and get a credential or a certificate or a diploma or a degree there, and that can take me into a field that I'm really passionate about. Or I may have some students that want to go that 4-year route and then pursue education beyond that. But I think our job is to help them see what is there. There are so many options. A lot of what we've done recently in Caldwell County is an initiative that we call Workforce Wednesdays. So we're taking our middle and high school teachers into the sectors that are most that have the most job opportunities here in Caldwell County, and we're learning about the business and industry that are here, the job opportunities that are here, because I think sometimes we sell Caldwell County short. There's so many great things about Caldwell County that we don't know, and it's helping us to learn. So we're taking teachers into, for example, we just toured Bemis, and then we toured another facility with advanced manufacturing here in Caldwell County, and for our teachers to see that and to see what happens and what it looks like and things that we're doing here in Caldwell County, and then come back and have those conversations with our students about, did you know you could do this in Caldwell County? Did you know you could do this? And here's how you get there. And to be honest, I think our teachers are the ones that have those relationships with our students. They know what the students are, who they are, what they're passionate about, what they may not even know. And sometimes I think back to what I was thinking I might do when I was in middle school or in high school. And I don't know in a million years that I would have told you I was going to end up being an assistant superintendent somewhere. But I knew that I like to help others. And so I think it's finding that skill set that our students have. Everybody has something they do really well. It's helping that student find that and say, look at all these job opportunities that we have. And we want them to come back to Caldwell County because it's so great. But we know there are other places that they may end up. But it's what can we do to help them with those skill sets, develop those skill sets, help them find that passion. Because if you're going to stay in a job, you want somebody to be passionate about it. Whatever job it is, that passion's going to come through, and it's helping them find what it is that they're interested in and helping them know what's there And there are our CTE program, our Career and Technical Education program here in Caldwell County Schools is wonderful. We have led the state or been in the top 10 within the state with the credentials that our students have earned. And we are a mid-sized district. Like we are outshining those districts like Charlotte Mecklenburg or Wake County or Guilford County because we are providing these opportunities for students to explore in middle school and then really find their passion, their opportunities in high school. We've got students that leave high school with a CNA degree, Certified Nursing Assistant. They can go straight into a hospital, into a nursing home, doctor's facility, with something that they've not even had to do anything outside of what they did in high school because they knew they were passionate about that. So we are working, I will say, we are working to expand our internships and our apprenticeships just to help students figure it out, what it is that they want to do and where they may want to go. And sometimes learning is about learning what you don't like to do. But it's having those opportunities while they're in middle and high school to really learn about who they are.
Let me dig a little bit on that, and I love Nathan's question. It's really about workforce development. And when we think about workforce development, I think in the old days that was blue-collar work for folks that weren't going to college. But if you think about college-going students are ultimately looking for a career, and they're going to be in the workforce as well. So really for us, workforce development begins when we first get students, pre-K, kindergarten, and on up. So if you look at the McKinsey report and we talk about determination, we talk about persistence and working together, communication, problem solving, those are all skills that we want to start to teach students to have even in kindergarten before we talk about welding and nursing. So we really have taken that from the earliest stages of when students join us until they ultimately graduate. And I think that's reflective in the work that's being done by our older students.
I didn't warn you about this question. Another thing that's happening with curriculum in our district is that there are certain teaching strategies and initiatives that are being put in place that encourage students to become lifetime learners. They give them skill sets to help them learn as they continue, like Dr. Phipps said, as opposed to just traditional classroom education where they sit and take notes and et cetera. We refer to that as wit and wisdom. Why don't you tell us about how those initiatives are making an impact for children as they continue on throughout their life?
Okay. So when you think about how we learn and ways that we learn and what we want our students to leave us with, as Dr. Phipps was talking about some of the skill sets, I also think a little bit about North Carolina's Portrait of a Graduate. And so we start looking at some of those same skill sets that were in the McKinsey report, the creativity, the problem solving, the empathy, the communication. So when we look at some of the curriculums that we use, so Wit and Wisdom is our curriculum, kindergarten through 8th grade, for English language arts or for reading, whichever terminology you want to use depending on the grade level. And in that, the curriculum is divided into modules. And each module it focuses in on a particular concept or a target. And throughout the course of it, we are teaching the standard course of study, which is what we have to teach. But we're also pulling in all of these other subjects into it. So I may be looking at a painting or a portrait. I may be digging into all these different fairy tales told in different ways and comparing perspectives and how this character saw this and how that character saw that. It all weaves together, but through that they're talking with each other and they're having to explain what they're thinking or what that character might have been thinking and really dig in and analyze and using words that you may not even have thought that first grader knew, but because of the rigor of this program and what we're asking students to do and to think and work through it and really understand what's going on and see those connections from one thing to another. Life doesn't exist in silos, and we don't learn in silos. So it's pulling all of that together and helping our students see those connections and making those connections, and that they could take what they've learned here and apply it to this other topic or this other concept. And it's giving them that skill set that they can take forth with them that nobody can take away from them. It's theirs. They're learning how to think, how to question, and really dig through that critical analysis, digging deeper, learning more deeply thinking about what it is that they're doing, and really trying to strive in and dig into what's happening. But it is, it might be a Socratic seminar that you're walking in. So all the students might sit in a circle, and you're walking in and they're discussing why they think this. And somebody might say, well, I see your point, but I think this. And just that respectful conversation of how to interact with each other. But I'm learning in the process of doing all of this. There's just so much entailed in that curriculum. That it really is a great opportunity for our students to make those connections, and it does spiral. So they're bringing in those concepts year after year, but they're digging into a little bit more into what those students are capable of doing, and very high expectations for what they're doing, and it is helping our students to grow and to think and be able to have those conversations with adults when they walk in the room, and they can tell us what they're learning about. Because it's entertaining for them. It's like, oh, I didn't know that, or let me learn about the deep sea life or outer space, or sometimes it's history related. It's bringing all that together, and they're learning in tandem with each other, and it's not such separated out as, oh, I might do science for 45 minutes and social studies. We do teach science and social studies, but when you can pull all of that into a curriculum and you can look at things and have them really analyze it and be able to speak about it and to write about it. The writing that comes out of this curriculum, sometimes I've read it and I was like, I can't believe a third grader wrote that. Like, I feel like I might have written that in sixth grade or something. Like, just the skill sets that they're leaving our doorsteps with, I think it's just amazing, and I think it's a credit to the curriculum that we're using.
And how does it tie into the statewide initiative of the science of reading training that's been required the last few years?
Excuse me. So, I guess 2 to 3 years ago, there was some legislation that went through. So all of our teachers have participated in what we call letters training, which is aligned to the science of reading. And letters is all about how do children learn how to read? And it's like putting together, there's a rope that we call Scarborough's rope, and you've got two sides of that rope, and you have to have both sides in order for students to be able to read. It's part of that's the language acquisition piece, so it's your phonics. So we use a program called Foundations for that. And so it's like sound, knowing that sounds come forth from letters and which sounds correspond to what letters, and so it's helping students with that piece. So you've got language acquisition with your phonics, your phonemic awareness, but you also have that comprehension piece, and you have to have both sides of that for our students to be able to read. And that's what really the science of reading is about. What does the research say? And it's not really changed per se over the years, but what does the research say about how our students acquire the skill sets that they need and how they work in tandem for our students to be able to read to understand and read to comprehend, and be able to use that as they get older and move from grade level to grade level. So all of our teachers in the elementary grade levels have participated in completed letters, and as new teachers come in, they have to make sure that they go through that training program. But it's all about how can we help our students read and set them up with that skill set to be that they need as they move forward. But all of our teachers have been trained in that, and it's I even went through the training myself, because if this was something we were going to ask our teachers to do, I felt like I needed to sit through this training as well. And it was really eye-opening for me, because I was coming from a high school background, but to understand and really think about what happens when our students grow and as they learn, and kind of the preschool age into kindergarten and first grade, and what's normal with the letter formation, and how much you can just watching a student write and what they're writing can tell you so much about what they're thinking, and what their skill set is, and what we can do to help them with writing their letters and learning and putting all of that together to be able to read and then write, and what they can do orally versus written. Just a lot of learning that has gone on within our K-5, within our elementary teachers, to help them really understand what it is to learn, and then how can we help our students when they're struggling. How can we pinpoint exactly what it is that they're struggling with, and then provide that intervention or that extra time with student to help them with that skill set where they might be struggling just a little bit and they just need that little extra support, and then they've got it and they can continue on in their learning.
So, you just explained to us how you and your department are strategically working to ensure that students in this county, from the time they learn to read and write to the time that they're figuring out what's next in their life, are being supported and nurtured in a way that they can continue to be a learner throughout life. They can continue to contribute in a positive way. They're great communicators. So if you could generalize in that way, when you walk into work every morning, what it is that you want your impact to be for every student in this county, how would you put that in general terms? What are you working day to day to do?
I think for me, what I'm working day to day to do is ensure that every student has a teacher who has spent time to prepare what it is that they're going to do in the classroom. And then they teach it, and then they reflect upon, did it work or did it not work? And what do I need to do differently when I go back into that classroom later that day or the next day? Because I know, and research will tell you, that the teacher is the most important person in that classroom. The teacher's the one that leads the instruction, that leads the learning, that models the learning that needs to happen in the classroom. And they are the person that we're here to support. And so my job is to make sure the teacher has what he or she needs to be successful. And whether that's professional development to help them with something that they may not know, or as we learn things or as things change. I think about artificial intelligence and the impact it is having on education. And I mean, the world is constantly changing. So what are we doing to support our teachers to make sure they're ready for the changes, that they can teach what they need to be teaching in the classroom, that they know how to look at the data that's in front of them and analyze the data to figure out which student needs what, and then what does the teacher need to do to ensure that all of our students are learning. We've put forth a lot of work last year into what we call our instructional framework, and really it comes down to kind of the three parts of: I'm preparing to teach, I'm going to go in and teach, and then I'm going to look to see, did what I do work, did it not work, and then what am I going to do differently? And it's putting it all together. And so my job is to make sure that our teachers have what they need to do to be able to do what they do day in and day out. And then there are people in my department, student support, who's making sure that the students have all the things that they need to do to have their needs met so that they can learn.
So we call this podcast Learning Together. Because at Caldwell County Schools, we're not just offering classrooms and schools. We want to foster an entire community of learning for students and their families. So I would like for you to share something that you have learned from your community recently that you would like everyone else to know about.
So I know I talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think I'm going to go back to Workforce Wednesday, so because it's very fresh in my mind. And we were focused on advanced manufacturing. And I've heard a lot about Bemis, and I had been to Bemis before, but it's always great to walk into a facility and see what they're doing. But the other place we visited was Sealed Air. And they have a couple different plants here in Caldwell County. So they have one in Hudson and one in Lenore. And so I've learned that this newest over at Hudson, at that facility, they have recently, and I think I'm not sure if they're finished with the patent or not, but they are going to make some new containers. So when you think about, and this was not what I thought about when I was thinking about Sealed Air, because I think about the packaging that comes in that has the air pockets that are packed in what you have and the packages you get from wherever you're ordering your materials. And but they have this patent where they are making the styrofoam that our ground beef comes on, or that your steak or whatever. They have figured out a way to make this in something that is biodegradable. So you can buy, and they're working on selling this and packaging it and selling it to the food manufacturing places. But it'll be something that you can buy, you can purchase, and then you can put in your compost pile, and it will biodegrade within 60 to 90 days. And that, it's all about, we're saving the students, they're saving the world, one package at a time. But just learning that there are just so many great things going on in Caldwell County. So I think we have a great partnership that I will say we have a great partnership with economic development here in Caldwell County, and just in learning, and our business partners they're all very supportive, and I think we do what we can to try to give them the shout outs, but I think just learning about what is here in Caldwell County and the things that we're doing here that set us apart from all of the other 100 counties or 99 other counties in North Carolina. But just we have some great things happening here in Caldwell County.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being with us, Dr. McEllen, and we look forward to our next episode, which we are excited to bring to you, and we hope you'll join us. But again, thank you for being with us.